I was always trying to find elements that would not normally find their way into sitcoms and see if we could make those kind of elements funny. That was a challenge for me, just structurally. Could you take a murder, dark themes, and make them somehow funny? Is there a way to make them palatable and funny? And actually through the Jerry and Larry filter, we usually were able to accomplish that.
We got a script called The Bet.
I do remember that show. It was written by Larry Charles.
Yeah, The Bet is the only one we never shot. There was one other one I wish we hadn't shot, but there was, The Bet came to the table, and it involved, the predominant storyline was Elaine bought a gun.
And I thought, that's a provocative story. Let's try to make that work. And everybody felt that it would work, actually. But we couldn't, and in fact, the sets got built, and we read the story, we cast it even.
And I remember thinking, we're not going to do this.
Jerry and Julia read this one scene where she has the gun, and she's holding it in her hand, and she says to Jerry in the car, "All right, Jerry, where do you want it? The Kennedy, the McKinley?" And she said it. I mean, she could barely get it out of her mouth. And I used to sit right next to Juliet, or right across from her, either way. And I remember her saying it and just looking at me with the most pathetic eyes, and then looking at Jerry and looking at Harry. And everyone got up from the table reading. She went, I went over to her and she went, "I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this." And I said, I don't think it's going to be a problem. You know?
Table reading hadn't gone all that well because, in my opinion, guns aren't funny.
I was concerned about Kramer being so open about arming Elaine. Although, why not? I think Kramer could justify the use of a weapon.
We started working, and about 20 minutes later, the cast just stopped and looked at me and said, "We can't do this show." I said, "I'll go talk to him." And I headed up to Larry's office, and Glenn Padnick was coming out into the parking lot. And he said, "How's it going?" I said, "Glenn, we can't do this." And I think there was a sigh of relief from him, and we turned around and went to Larry's office and said, "It's not going to work. Guns aren't funny."
And they came back and went, "You can all go home. You can go home. Change your thought."
It would have been an interesting show, but we couldn't solve the funny problem of it. It never seemed to quite be as funny as it should be. And because of that, the balance was off, and the darkness kind of enveloped it, and it could never really emerge from that darkness and become what it should have been. So it was disappointing, but also understandable.
You bring out a gun, you got to be exceptionally funny, and we just weren't making it that week.